Welcome back to another episode of the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. This is the AEW Revolution review from this past Sunday's show. It's a bit of an unusual one, a wrestling pay-per-view on a Sunday. Had to get used to that. But joining me as always for this is my AEW buddy, Mr. Dave Robinson. Good evening, sir.
Hello, mate. You okay?
Oh, yes, I am all good. It's been a long weekend of wrestling, and it's going to be another long weekend of wrestling. I've just said before we went on show, with SmackDown being on at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock this week, TNA are running two shows this weekend, their Impact and their Sacrifice pay-per-view. So there's a lot. And of course, more AEW to watch and review with Gary Joe this coming Sunday. So a lot of wrestling on the cards. But let's get involved in Revolution. Now, full disclosure, I did not see Zero Hour. We will skate over those results very, very briefly and quickly. But before that, as usual, there was some more sort of comings and goings or soon to be comings and goings, Dave, that I just wanted to touch on
Yeah.
with you before we get to this. Now, we knew, obviously, Malachi Black. We know about who else? Ricky Starks, and we know
Yeah.
Miro has gone. So
Great.
joining them too soon is going to be Nick Cromantaro. Sorry if I pronounced that name wrong. And Abaddon, both going to be leaving AEW soon. Now, in terms of incomings, now we knew that Speedball Mike Bailey is incoming very, very soon. Backstage at Revolution was Elektra Lopez. She was in WWE, pretty much done fuck all in her time
Yeah.
over in WWE. And someone that tweeted out something that got the internet buzzing a little bit was Hammerstone, former TNA. Great, great talent. He tweeted a picture of himself, MJF, and Richard Halliday or Holiday, who were a faction
Yeah.
on the independents. Dave, I mean, look, going into this quickly, obviously it'd be three great. I mean, I'm not too sure about the Elektra Lopez one, but Speedball coming in great. Hammerstone coming in as well. The concern that I have with this is that I know that people can say, well, they're replacing these other guys, but those ones weren't doing anything. To
Yes.
bring three guys, two world-class athletes to a roster that's already got world-class athletes that we're not always seeing week in, week out. How is he going to manage this and keep everybody happy?
Yeah. It creates his own problems then in terms of having such a bloated roster
Mm.
and then kind of accepting, because I think he granted some releases. I think Ray Phoenix
Ray
in the
Phoenix.
end,
Yep.
he kind of just said, well, yeah, I'll let you go type of thing. It's obvious where he's going. Um, but yeah, that was a positive move in many respects because it resolves the
Mm.
issue. And as you say, there's guys there not being used
Yeah.
for whatever reason,
Mm.
backstage, whatever it is. But yeah, just replace them and add to that bloated roster seems a little bit unnecessary. I suppose some people would say, it keeps it fresh and keeps
Yeah.
new faces
Mm.
and new match combinations and stuff. But there's a lot of guys there that we would like to see more of anyway, and we don't. I mean, guys like Adam Cole, guys like Daniel Garcia, guys like, Kyle O'Reilly, there's others as well that were on the zero hour.
Mhm.
Um, some of the guys like your Bandidos and your Holograms and Gravity, so there's plenty of guys there that I would like to see feature in more prominent roles than see some new talent come in, if you like.
Mm.
So yeah, we'll see what transpires. Obviously, it's not been confirmed,
No.
but Tony Khan just loves adding wrestlers
He
to his
loves
roster.
it. He loves a wrestler, doesn't he? But we'll see. I mean, look, we'll see what happens. If as we know, Speedball's coming in, that's a given. We know that. The others, obviously, TBC. And look, there's going to be people going, obviously, but the people that are going, I don't think are going to be like the main ones. I think we're going to be seeing like the Abaddon, who I thought Abaddon was a great character. I would love to see Abaddon in NWA because there is another wrestler in NWA called Max the Impaler, and I think bringing them two together would be quite an interesting combination.
Yeah.
But look, it is what it is. And people like Camille, what the hell's happened to Camille?
Yeah.
Things like that. But anyway, look, we'll get that's for another time. Let's look. Just to run through quickly. 0 hours. A hologram. Hologram. Fucking hell! What a start!
So a hybrid.
That's the tag team name. It was
Yeah,
Commander
yeah,
and Hologram. Hologram. There you go. I've done
yeah.
it for you,
Did it?
TK. There's your team name for you, buddy. I'm doing your job for you. They beat Lee Johnson and Blake Christensen. I don't think there's any result on here that was a surprise. Daniel Garcia and the Undisputed Kingdom, Adam Cole, Roddy Strong, Kyle O'Reilly. They defeated Shane Taylor Promotions, Shane Taylor, Carly Bravo, Lee Moriarty, and Sean Dean. Big Boom, AJ, and the Gormation, Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe, Big Justice, and the Rizzler. They defeated Johnny TV and the M&M Collection, who was obviously had Taya Valkyrie ringside. Chris Jericho didn't have a match with Bandito in the end. He ended up ripping his mask off, attacking him and ripping his mask off. So that match didn't actually really happen
Yeah.
on 0 hour. I can breathe after that a little bit. Let's get on with the show, the Revolution itself. Hangman Adam Page, MJF kicked off the show. Loved a good. I thought it was a great. Honestly, I thought it was a great match between the two. I was very torn about what way I thought this was going to go, Dave. There was a couple of sick spots. The tombstone onto the steel chair was very well protected by MJF, I will have to say, but looked very, very gruesome. I think I was quite surprised Hangman picked up the victory in this because MJF recently has turned into Maxwell Jacob Jobber. He's not MJF. He's one of the top heels in there, but he's obviously not competing too much. And when he is, Dave, he's losing. I'm not quite sure what's next for either of these two after this.
No, I expected it to go the other way. I thought
Hmm.
that would play into Hangman's character a little bit more, and I thought that would extend the story a bit. For Hangman to pick up the win, it kind of seems like a one and done. Now
Hmm.
that could be because MJF is disappearing again because
Yeah.
he's landed a few film roles, so that remains to be seen. But Hangman, obviously, as popular as he's ever been
Yeah.
in AEW, and whether now he propels himself and looks at the title picture, interestingly enough, that's where Swerve is. And
Yes.
those two seem kind of tied together. So yeah, we'll see. But I thought it was a great match. I thought there
Hmm.
was a lot of good matches on this card. I thought, the first 90% of the card really, really good. And we'll get to the main event. But I thought this was a great way to start the show. I thought
Yeah.
it was an excellent match, excellent chemistry. As you mentioned, the tombstone spot, something I hadn't seen before.
Nope.
So we always welcome something that we've not seen before.
Mhm.
And yeah, I thought it was a really good way to set the tone for the night.
Yeah, it did. I mean, there was an abundance of matches you could have put first, and they all would
Yeah,
have been right. This match, we'll talk about booking because we are going to have there will be a moan that's going to come up that probably
yeah,
will be around booking. But you could have put an abundance of those matches on first to get the crowd
yeah.
going. My only quick note, Dave, and I remember this from All In as well. Is there too many matches on the 0 hour? I appreciate you got to get the crowd in. You got to get them a bit, hyped up. But is there potentially a problem here when you have 3 or 4 matches that they're already here before the start? Because you get that dip after a lot of matches. Do they maybe perhaps need to shorten that 0 hour down a little bit?
To be totally honest, I wouldn't have it at all. And if I did have it, if I had to have it, I'd have one match, and that
Yeah.
would be it. It'd be one match. It would be a build to the card
Yeah.
while people are filtering into the arena. I mean, we had it at Wembley.
Mm.
People are not in the seats. People the doors are open. People are kind of queuing to get
Yeah.
in still, and there's action going on in the ring. I don't know. I think it's an excuse to get more people on the card, if you
Mm.
like. Um, I don't like the concept of the 0 hour, the buy-in. It, if there was something, like in days gone by, in let's talk about Attitude Era. We haven't mentioned it for a few weeks, but well, you'd have Sunday Night Heat, and
Mhm.
then something would happen significant to
Yeah.
the story, or would play a factor in the main
Mm.
event, like an injury angle or something, and is the challenger going to be healthy and going to be able to make the main event
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
something that kind of continued throughout the night. I think there is a place where it can be used, but the way that AEW use it is just to load it with more cards, which matches on the card, which does fatigue the audience. Of course, it does. You've got an extra 3 or 4 matches.
Yeah.
You're asking a lot of them at 4 hours in to really get up for a main event, and I think we saw that tonight. Well, at Revolution.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying. I think something like you could even do a casino battle royal, and the
Yeah,
winner of that battle royal would go on maybe to be inputted into the main event of the show, even if it was just to eat the pin in the main event. But it's a significant piece that you want to get to your seat. I get it; they want to get people to buy the merch. You open the doors early. You start 0 hour with a little talking thing that they do with Renee Paquette, RJ City, whatever.
yeah,
Play a load of bloody promos, and then perhaps that last hour you put the casino royal back, and you could even have the winner, and then he gets blindsided by, I don't know, the world champion at that point to soften him up for later, or I don't know, something along those lines.
yeah. For me, it doesn't really. It doesn't really. It'd be interesting to know the stats, whether it does secure any more buys, whether anybody watches the buy-in,
Mm,
or the 0 hour and go, oh, well, yeah, I'm going to go on and order the card now. I
yeah,
just don't think it does. I think you get 3 or 4 matches and you kind of, well, I've had enough now. I don't know. I know you've got great matches coming up and stuff
yeah.
to look forward to and stuff they've built to, but they're just throwaway matches. A lot of them just. I mean, AJ, Big Boom, a little bit entertaining, you could say, but I just don't see why. And that's two. Is that 2 pay-per-views in a row? He's had a match on the 0, or certainly 2 in the last 3?
It's two in the last three. I don't quite think it was together, but yeah, it was two very quick succession.
Yeah, yeah, I don't understand it, to be honest. I'm sure from a business point of view, there's reasons for it, but I think it's just you know, try to keep everybody happy. But that
Okay.
doesn't necessarily work, does it? Because we saw House of Black on 0 hours and pre-shows, and look what's happened there. Malachi's gone back to WWE, so yeah,
Seemed to be, yeah.
I would scrap I would scrap it, to be honest. Or as I say,
Yeah.
do something that you can't do every single pay-per-view, have something, affecting the story, but you could vary it a bit more. And as you say, just have one match to get the crowd ready and then start the show.
Yeah, exactly that. We'll see. We'll see what happens in the future with those. I can't see him dying down
No.
anytime soon, to be fair. But now here it comes for Adam Eats Some Humble Pie Part 1. Uh,
Oh,
yes, I know. And when I say the word Mercedes Monet, people are, instantly, my feelings, and everyone, knows my feelings about her. But look, that she really put on a show here and against Momo Watanabe, I believe the name being. It was I didn't know much about Momo, to be quite, fully transparent.
yeah,
Saw a little bit on Dynamite and whatnot. These two really put on a great match. Now, if it wasn't for another women's match that we're going to get to in a minute, it would have been rated even higher.
yeah,
Mercedes, look, when she's in there and wrestling at the moment, it's not been the first time. It's been a couple of times now when I've had
yeah,
humble pie on Mercedes Monet, and I'm happy to. That's the thing. I'd say that I don't like, and I don't particularly like her. I don't think she should be the Revolution Pro Wrestling British Heavyweight Champion. That's not necessarily an AEW issue, by the way, but
yeah.
just bringing it up. But look, she has knocked it out the park on these last two shows, and when she's getting in there, Dave, at the minute, she is delivering.
She is. She's had a number of really good matches now, and the Statlander matches were particularly
Hmm.
good as well, particularly the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's kind of justifying her position in the company and as the TBS champion. I think she's doing a great job. It's a shame in some respects because I know they have built it on Dynamite and we've had a bit of a story there, but we haven't seen Momo like week in, week out. They
Yeah.
they perhaps could have told a better story with one of the roster members. Um, but I'm not going to complain really because, as you say, it was a great match. I'm the same as you. Didn't know much about Momo. I knew that they'd had a match in Japan, I think, and it was received really well, and it was a good match, which is probably why Tony Khan wanted to recreate that in AEW. Smart, and it definitely paid off. It was a great pay-per-view match. Really, really good showing for Mercedes.
And I think Billy Starks was watching on.
Yeah, and that again, that's building something, isn't it?
Mm.
Billy Starks has been in Ring of Honor, and I think she's been like Athena's
Yes.
sidekick.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's still the case or whether they've broke away from each other because I haven't seen Ring of Honor for a long time. But yeah, it'd be great to see Billy mixing it up with Mercedes, similar to how we saw Harley Cameron,
Yeah.
and some of these up and coming women that really do deserve a bit more shine, a bit more spotlight. And Billy is in that category.
And potentially Athena at some point as well. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously, I know that she is still the Ring of Honor Women's Champion, which she's been for. She's got a reign similar to Roman's, I think. At the well, not similar. I mean, Roman's was 3,000 odd days, and I think Athena's on 800 or something. But she's a
yeah,
champion over there. She's doing it. So yeah, really good match. Love this. Be interested. Looking the way that Billy Starks is next, by the sounds of it,
yeah,
the way it's going. But we'll see. Could all change. Adam eats humble pie part two. Right, straight away after
getting
this.
full. Oh, this pie.
I know it is a nice pie, and don't get me wrong. Like I love it when I'm proved. This is the whole
Yeah,
point. When I say something, and I never criticize it for the sake of criticizing it. I have an opinion, and I'll give you my opinion on
yeah,
someone or a match, and it's not a tribalistic thing. It's my opinion, my honest opinion on something, and I would criticize the same as I would criticize things in WWE and NWA and TNA, regardless.
yeah,
Which brings me nicely to the next one. Now, Swerve Strickland and Ricochet, they've had a great feud. And again, what AEW have been doing really, really well, and they've done it during this show as well, storytelling, storylines, matches have had a meaning to it. It's not just been a bit like you said about the 0 hour, the throwaway matches. None of that now. It is pure storyline in a lot of this, which
yeah,
is great. So they've had a great thing with Swerve and Ricochet. Now, the reason I'm eating humble pie is I didn't when Ricochet first came to AEW, didn't quite hit it. The thing he turned heel. I wasn't sure it was working, but that was the early part of Ricochet turning heel. And these type of
yeah,
things, you can only give an opinion for what you see at the time that you see it.
yeah,
Fast forward 6 weeks, 8, 7, 8. He is a brilliant heel. The fact that he ain't great on the mic is actually working in his favor as a heel when he
yeah,
cuts the promos. The match itself, so that's me in humble pie on Ricochet. The match itself, I thought was really, really good. I love the bit where Nana walks out during the match. I love that. I thought that was a really nice little. Oh, you kind
yeah,
of got you thinking, shit. Like, is he going to turn or is he going to, what was going on? Obviously, this was a number one contenders match for the AEW World Championship. Swerve picking up the victory on this. Again, not a surprise, but you're kind of right. Things could intertwine with Hangman again, as Hangman picked up that victory over MJF. But I mean, Dave, these two, they've had a great feud so far. Don't know if it's ended yet, but I think even in defeat, Ricochet still come out of this with his stripes on this one.
I think so. I think it's never been in question whether
Mm.
Ricochet would have good matches wherever he wrestles.
Yeah.
But the criticism or the hope, I suppose, with him going into AEW was that we would really care about him as a character and he
Mm.
would really establish himself and develop himself. And in the early days, it looked like he was going to be a face. And yeah, we saw that change pretty quickly. And the transition to heel wasn't as smooth as it could have been.
Hmm.
He had the little falling out with the Hurt Syndicate,
Yeah.
and that didn't look fantastic. It made him look a bit stupid. But everything from that point has been brilliant,
Yeah.
really good. And I don't mind him on the microphone. Yeah, there are stronger
Mm.
um, performers when it comes to the microphone and cutting promos. But I actually think he's been pretty good. I do like what he says, and he's irritated. Some
Yeah.
of the and that laugh is
Yeah.
it serves the purpose
Mm.
perfectly. It does exactly what it's meant to do. And yeah, I look forward to seeing Ricochet now on the card and what he's going to be doing, what he's going to be up to. I wouldn't have minded if he'd have won this match.
Yeah.
Whichever way this went, I was happy for, whichever direction they went in. So yeah, no complaints for me on this one. And yeah, Swerve's going to go on now and get himself back in the world title picture. Be interesting to see what Ricochet does.
Yeah, it would be. It'll be interesting to see who he does as next. But this is the best thing, and this is where AEW now can kind of start rebuilding some feuds. Now some have finished. We'll get into some
Yeah,
more in a minute, and perhaps some of that will intertwine. But again, going back to what AEW was weak at, obviously Tony has picked out storyline, storytelling, as a weak spot, and he's working on it. And I think it's
Yeah,
great. You still get the odd ones here and there that fluctuate, but a lot better in terms of the
yeah,
storytelling for me. Move on to the Continental Championship. Kazuchika Okada, Brody King. The only thing that disappointed me about this match was it wasn't long enough. It was
yeah,
about 11 minutes. I do feel though, although Klitschko Okada won it, and I wasn't expecting him to drop it just yet anyway. I do feel that this was kind of like a breakout thing for Brody King. We know, obviously, like you mentioned, the House of Black are pretty much that. I can't remember what they're called now. What's their team now? The
Hounds of Hell.
Hounds of Hell. Thank you. With Buddy, who's again unfortunately out injured he got injured over in Australia.
Yeah,
Um, I do feel this was like a really good breakout moment to really kind of give you or show you that Brody King is a hell of a top contender in the singles division of
yeah.
AEW, whether or not they will stay that way when Buddy comes back. But Dave, I mean, you know, we've gone across nearly half the card here, and we've said the matches were great. Wasn't much of a story to this one, but you can get away, as I say, you can get away with it when there's more stories coming up later on.
Yeah, I'd have liked to have seen Brody cutting a few promos and getting to
Mm.
know him a bit more as a
Yep.
performer. The matches are without question. He's great in there. He's incredibly over. The fans love him, and you know, the loose story was that Okada had beat Buddy, and Brody had gone after the title
Mhm.
following that. But yeah, again, a breakout star, a potential world champion for the company in years to come. Certainly get him involved in some bigger storylines and feature him more. Take full advantage of how over he is and how popular he is with the fan base because and he doesn't let you down in the ring.
No.
I'd just like to know a bit more about him.
Mm.
Whether that's promos or whether that's vignettes or whatever they do, particularly if he's going to be a single star now. I'm not sure how long Buddy's out for. But if he's not going to be part of that tag team, let's see what he can do on his own and really give him that opportunity to shine.
Yeah, definitely, and obviously Julia Hart as well, and
Yeah,
the women's side of things to add to that as well. Plenty of good opportunities here on AEW.
yeah.
Next match was the World Tag Team Championships. AEW, the OutRunners won a number one contender. They are still my favorite tag team in the world against the Hurt Syndicate. Now, um, with this one, I was kind of like really actually happy about this because my main concern with it was I felt as if it was going to go long, and I don't know why. I even felt that the Outrunners, as much as I want them to win the tag team championships, I
Yeah.
felt as if it was too early. What I loved about this was a glorified squash, but and that's exactly what it should have been. What AEW and Tony Khan is doing really well with the Hurt Syndicate is when they've put them together as a team, they're decimating people. And they've pretty much done that throughout their reign so far in AEW. It was booked correctly, booked how it should be. It should have been a glorified squash. The Hurt Syndicate should absolutely destroy the Outrunners. My only minimal concern here is I see the Young Bucks coming back and possibly beating them, and I don't quite think that would be the right way for the Hurt Syndicate to lose the titles.
No, no, I don't think there's any reason or need for them to lose the titles anytime soon. I think they're what a contrast as well to the run of Private Party. Again,
Yeah.
not criticizing Private Party. I think they were a little bit hard done by, to be honest, with how
Yeah.
they were booked or not booked, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of what they have done with the Hurt Syndicate. I mean, I'm trying to go back in time and think of all the AEW tag team champions we've had. Kenny and Hangman.
Yeah.
That was a nice little run. But I think this is my favorite tag team champions that we've had in AEW. We had Sting and Darby, and we had that moment, and
Yeah.
obviously FTR and the Bucks and some of the great matches they've had. But I just think they look incredible together. They look the entrance, the presentation, MVP as well. I've really
Yeah.
enjoyed him since he's been in AEW, and when he's on the commentary desk, people listen, and he's very entertaining. Question for you from me is, will they be joined soon by a former member of their old faction? well, it's the same faction, isn't it? Under a different name and a different company. Are they going to be joined soon by Cedric Alexander?
Quite possibly. I haven't heard any rumors to say where. I mean, look, yeah, I don't see
Been
why not.
released, hasn't he? He's
Yeah,
left. Really.
yeah. So he will be a free. If he's not a free agent already, he will be. I could see it. I can totally see it happening. I could also see him go into TNA as well.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, I think he suits. I think he suits both companies. To be quite
Um,
frank.
He's married to Big Swole, isn't he? And she left AEW
Yes.
in quite
Cloud.
dubious circumstances, yeah, and had a falling out with Tony Khan, and it was quite public. I think there was a bit of a Twitter spat, but
Mm.
Leo Rush was involved with that as well, and he criticised Tony Khan, and he's gone on and
Yeah.
had, a decent run in the company. So if that bridge can be mended, then perhaps because they were on a recruitment drive to begin with, and that's kind of ended. And it's just
Yes.
that, and I'm quite happy to be honest with them as a trio. We
Yep.
get MVP on occasion. He's laced up his boots at least on one occasion in a
Yep.
trio. But yeah, I think bringing Cedric in, I think that I'd be, I'd welcome that. I think that would be a smart move, a good move to kind of reignite the full faction because I think it was cut short way too soon in WWE,
It was.
and it's just showing now how successful it can be.
My view is as well is and I think that Tony Khan's booking them a lot better and
Yeah,
how they should be booked
yeah,
as a fact they should be a dominating faction.
yeah,
Look at who you got in there for Christ's sake. Bobby Lashley, fucking Fridge. You know, Shelton Benjamin is a great, pound for pound catch can wrestler. Yes, MVP's getting on a bit. Yes, he's probably got a few nagging injuries. So adding Cedric Alexander to that mix and book it the way that they've been booking it should be happening.
yeah. Perhaps that's something when they again. I don't want to see this tag reign end
Mm.
anytime soon, but it's done so much for the division and increased certainly my interest in the division again. Maybe with Cedric in the future, they could do the same with the trios.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was just going to say. Maybe when
Yeah.
the tag runs over, put the trios titles on, or who knows, they could go on and do the trios at the same time.
Yeah,
Why not?
potentially they've dominated as a two or a three with MVP, and let's see what they can do as a four, perhaps. But yeah, I think they've done a really really good job, and I'm so pleased as well for Shelton Benjamin because I
Yeah,
think his last kind of run in WWE at times I wouldn't go as far as to say he was a joke, but he
no,
certainly wasn't in the spot that his talent was worthy of. And I think we're seeing now a really respectful use of Shelton. And yeah, he's taken the opportunity with both hands and he's doing a great job and just showing you just just why he's so good.
yeah, absolutely agree. Can't agree more with that one. Let's see more of the Hurt Business in AEW. Sorry, the Hurt Syndicate in
Yeah, I thought I
AEW.
got it wrong then.
Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
that was totally me. Look, let's move on. Jesus, we're gonna have three. We're gonna talk about three matches now that I don't know, man. I fail to put it into words. The first one, the Hollywood ending, AEW Women's World Championship, Falls Count Anywhere, Mariah May, Tony Storm. Again, storytelling from AEW was absolutely sensational throughout the whole of this feud that they've had dating back over a year or so, however long it was. This was literally the Hollywood ending that they did they deserved. They kicked seven shades of shit out of each other during this match. There was taped fucking glass. There was thumbtacks. There was fuck knows what else. I think she even, I think Mariah may have even smashed a champagne bottle up the crutch of Tony Storm during
yeah,
this match. It had the comedic elements in this as well, which made it so much better. They
yeah,
were pissing out with blood. It only went 13 minutes. I could have had another, you could have given me another 15, 30 minutes of that. In a lot of ways, it was a death match and it was done in such a great way. The only issue with this, and we know, and I know you're going to agree with it, is this should have been the thing that closed the show at the end.
100%. That is the only shame about this match that it wasn't the main event. absolutely should have been. It's been the best story that the company, and as you say, they've been telling some good stories,
Yeah.
but this one for me is the best story they've had. Not only have they had the best story, but they've shown that they can have great matches previously as well. So it's got all of the ingredients. So I think absolutely this should have main evented Revolution, and it's a shame that it didn't. It really is, particularly as I say, when we get to the main event, I'm not particularly happy with the main event, so that makes it worse for me in some respects because
Mm.
this and the way it finished and was just the perfect way for it to end the show, and the Hollywood ending should have been the ending to the whole night. But what a job they've done.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that it is over. And, they may well cross paths again at some point in the future. But I really want to see now what Mariah May can go on to do on her own. I think her title reign wasn't as good as it could have been.
Mm.
Out of the whole story, that would be a slight criticism. When she wasn't with Tony, she was kind of lost a little bit, or she didn't
Yeah.
have the direction. But when they've been going at each other, great. So I'd like to see now what Mariah goes on to because I think she is an absolute superstar. I think she's going to be with the company a long time, hopefully from an AEW fan perspective. And she's just been a phenomenal performer for them since she's arrived in AEW, and Tony Storm as well. We've always known how good Tony Storm is in the ring, and her run in WWE wasn't what it should have been.
No.
And she had success in AEW prior to the Timeless character and title reigns, but I just think she now is, she's the name on the posters. She is a recognizable star for the company, and she's done such a great job. And we always talk about RJ City and his contribution. I think it's been immense in terms of the story and his ideas and the direction they've gone with all the callbacks, all the Hollywood bits, all the film quotes, and where they've blurred the lines. I just think it's been sensational.
It really has. And Mariah May, obviously from London, England as well. So we get a
Yeah,
shout out to us Brits while we're in that.
yeah.
But tremendous, absolutely tremendous. Loved, loved, loved it. Speaking of loving it, another match that could have possibly ended the show. This was the international championship match. Kenny Omega, Konosuke Takeshita. Kenny Omega proving that again he's the best bout machine. Nearly half an hour long. This one, you knew it was going to be great. These two, Takeshita is definitely, again he's a main event star. Omega is looking great considering diverticulitis, the same thing that Brock Lesnar had. Kenny hasn't missed a step. It, I felt a bit sorry because this is the first time I've probably gone and said, "Well, follow that, Kenny." Normally it's the other way around, right? Kenny has his
Yeah.
match, you're like, "Yeah, fucking follow that, guys." I mean, they couldn't follow it in terms of like that match, the Mariah May match and Tony Storm, but they put on a pound for pound classic in there, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, you just looked at this card prior to it starting, and some of the matches we had were just, they're just like dream matches,
Yeah,
really. They're just, the chemistry that Takeshita and Omega have got together, um, is something else. I just thought, it's like you said earlier, there was a number of matches that could have started the show. There's a number of
yeah,
matches that could have finished the show, and this is definitely one of them. I thought they did a great job. I think the spots on the outside with the table
yeah.
were really good. Um, Takeshita again, I was happy either way. I was happy for Takeshita to retain because, as you say, he's a
Yeah.
star, and he's another one that hopefully is with AEW for a long time. And I think the Don Callis family now, in this iteration of it, with the people they've got involved consistently, I'm really enjoying the Don Callis family. Not so much as the Hurt Syndicate,
Mm.
but I think they may cross paths before long as well. But because I think they'll have no choice but to turn the Hurt Syndicate face with
Yeah.
how popular that they're becoming. Um, but yeah, really pleased for Kenny. He's come a long way with his recovery and to get back in the ring from a genuine, career-threatening, life-threatening
Yeah.
condition, diverticulitis, and to see him with the international title now in AEW, I think that's great for the company and great for him. Great match. Looking forward to what he goes on to as well.
Yeah, and the same with Takeshita. It's going to be
Yeah,
great to see what happens. Maybe it's not over between them yet. Who knows?
yeah,
Something that's definitely over now. Well, I would assume. And again, we're talking about matches that could have started, matches that could have ended, and Will Ospreay, Carl Fletcher in a steel cage day. Fucking hell. I mean, again, we went on about Mariah May, Tony Storm, and look,
yeah.
it's Ospreay. You know what you're going to get with this guy. I'm sure Meltzer was having multiple orgasms during this. I mean, to be honest, I'm pretty sure a lot of people were. This was, I mean, I don't know. Words can't describe it, but I think well, if everybody didn't know, what they will know now is how much of a star also Carl Fletcher
Yeah.
is in this. The Spanish fly off the top of the cage, fucking hell, Jesus Christ! I was worried about when we see that because you never know with those moves. They are very split second. They timed it pretty much to perfection. The bit with Mark Davis coming in as well added another bit to it in this. Bleed again, they were bleeding during this as well, which is right. Blood's fine when it's done in the right ways. I felt both of the matches that had the blood in were right to do so. They had enough, there was enough story. We know the story with this. Again, AEW telling stories, good stories, adding great stories into great matches, which is kind of what they were lacking, and now they're not. These two were bleeding, everything. The end of the match was great. It felt like the end because when you do that thing where Fletcher was on his knees, like, I fucking hate you. And he cracked him with a hidden blade and whatever else. The styles clash onto the tax or whatever it was that was there as well. But
The old
I don't
splitter
know.
as well off the side of the cage,
Yeah,
that was just
I
what
don't
did you
know.
say? Osprey never has a bad match. He's just I would say he has been the best acquisition that AEW has ever made,
Agreed.
and uh, he just never he's so fluid. Everything is just so perfect. He rarely makes even like anything that would look like a mistake or a misstep. He's just a phenomenal performer. But I'm glad you said that about Carl Fletcher as well, because I think in the early days and when we first were seeing him in AEW, he was taking a lot of pins
Mm,
and saw him as a star, as a potential star. But I was a little bit apprehensive with how much he was losing.
yeah.
And, he seemed to be the person, whether it was in trios or singles or tag matches, that he was defeated.
Mm,
So now to see him, he's bulked up,
yes.
he looks like a main eventer. His wrestling ability again, never in question.
No.
But we care about him as a character. We dislike him. I think his association with Don. He looks like, and you could say the same for Takeshita, but Carl Fletcher, he looks like the main man
Yeah.
in that faction. Not the least significant or the least important. He definitely seems like the most important. And yeah, like again, like you said earlier, there's a lot of endings to stories here. It feels that way. Certainly feels like with this one, the Tony Storm and Mariah.
Yeah.
Um, MJF and Hangman to me, that I know we've only had this one match, but I
Yeah.
don't know, just the way that went down, I think that is probably a one and done, like I said earlier. But what a feud these guys have had. What a run of matches as well. I think they've had three in this run, and then they had the one when Ospreay came into the company. So I think they've
Yeah.
had four matches now, and I would be quite happy to see another four, in quick succession. Uh, just great. Big again. Interesting to see what Fletcher goes on to now. I would love to see him climb into that world title picture and really kind of. And there's only so many spots at the top of the card and
Yeah.
so many people they can do that with. But like when you were talking earlier about people they were coming in, I know you weren't necessarily talking about people that were going to be in the very main event.
Mm.
But when you got guys like Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita there, and Will Hobbs and others, those are the guys that I want to see more of. And Brody King, as we said earlier, let's really push these on there as stars. AEW have proved that they can make stars, they can build stars, that they can get people like Swerve and Hangman and MJF, like people that are bona fide AEW headliners. So let's get a few of us up there with them.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, I would like Osprey to wait until All In next year before he wins the AEW Heavyweight Championship. That's
Yeah,
that's where I think they're leading to, perhaps.
that'd be a great moment. But
And at the moment, he deserves. Look,
yeah,
we said that Kenny Omega best bout machine, but everything Will Ospreay at the moment just turns into 5 stars in a lot of cases. I'm not
to
Meltzer.
have to have the roster they've got, and we haven't even like I know we talked about Okada's match, but he's another one that's right up there. And to have all those guys on the same roster performing on the same pay-per-view, that's pretty special.
Yeah, it definitely is. Well, from after all of that, we get to the main event. Hence the bit disappointment in my voice now. And I love Cope. I really do. Moxley and Cope. I think if this is where Mariah May's match is, there's not a big, massive deal made about it. But after what come before it, to put on the style of match that they did, which was an old veteran-y type of style. I mean, obviously Cope's 50 odd years old, Mox is probably at 40, I don't quite know. They put on a very kind of slow paced match. And then after 196 days, Christian Cage cashes in the opportunity to become world champion only to be choked out by Mox and eat technically just be the fall guy in this. Yes, there was a nice bit where Swerve jumped off the barricade at the end onto Moxley, but this was harmed in my view. The match wasn't great. I mean, don't get me wrong, Dave. I'm not gonna justify the match being as bad as it was, but the fact that that was the end of your show when you've had what you had before it, it was just really bad positioning on this.
I absolutely hated it, mate, and I don't say that very often. You've covered a few of the things that I wanted to say in terms of the style of the match. It was like an a WWE style match from a number of years ago, not anything that's been in like recent times. I've been a huge fan of WWE, particularly in the last few months. So yeah, that's it. Just reminded me of the wrestling that we were kind of stuck with in terms of main promotions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've always had the indies and we've always, been able to see some great action on there. And people criticize AEW for, the gymnastics and the flip-flopping and the flying, but that is AEW. Those are the moments we get, yeah, we don't want to see 10 Canadian destroyers in every match, but certainly something a little bit more invigorating than Moxley and Copeland putting each other in chin locks and, rest holds and punches and kicks. And when you've told such, I haven't been a fan of the Death Riders,
No.
unfortunately. I really did to begin with. I thought, oh, this is something a bit cool, a bit different. When they choked Danielson out, I thought, that's something that we don't see. I know there was criticism for it,
Mhm.
but I had high hopes and it's just been poor. And then in recent weeks, I think Tony Khan has taken over the booking of it a little bit more. He's been more hands-on.
Mhm.
So the removal of Pac and Claudio and Marina, I like that, and it was kind of like AEW were accepting that. All right, this hasn't really gone as well as we thought it was going to go.
Yeah.
So let's take this opportunity to change direction, and whether that's give Copeland the title and give him a run as world champion, I don't think I wouldn't have necessarily hated that. I'd have been fine with that. I'm a huge fan of him as well.
Yeah.
But to do this, and for Christian. It's unforgivable to be honest. And I know that's strong, but to build that intrigue around a story where he's got this opportunity and then to cash it in and make the main event a triple threat, akin to what Seth Rollins did a number of years ago against Brock and Roman, and that was just so good.
Yeah.
They've really messed it up. They've really messed up something that they had right there. It was a shocking moment for Christian screwed Edge, Copeland, sorry, and he had the opportunity to win the title, and I don't think anybody would have complained. I,
Nope.
I really don't. If Christian would have walked out with the title, I think people would have been like, even though he's a heel, even though you're not necessarily sending the fans home happy, you're creating such a moment and something different
Yeah.
and something that's been built to.
Yeah.
They haven't rushed it. They haven't. So for him to just be choked out after being in the match about a minute, I don't know. I can't accept that that was the plan all along.
Mm.
I like Jay White's intervention. I
Yep,
quite like
forgot about
Wheeler's
that.
intervention, and I think something more could have been done there. It was just an overbooked mess in the end.
Mm.
Very, very disappointing. And I hate saying that because I loved Revolution. I thought it was a great
Yep,
show. I think
me too.
AEW did some great work. But it dragged the show down from being perhaps one of the best shows they'd put on, certainly from an in-ring standpoint, to something that I've ended that really annoyed and frustrated. And I might calm down. I only finished watching it, an hour or so ago. So I might kind of absorb it a little and think, okay, actually, what they do, I don't think so though. I don't think so. They've tried to get Swerve to save it at the end,
Yeah.
and as you said, decent little moment, and then we'll get Swerve and Moxley, but I was really, really disappointed with the match in general, the way it was booked, the way it finished, but also how it made Christian look. I really just. Really disappointed, mate. I'll let you talk now.
I can,
I've
I can,
vented enough.
I can assure you, you won't feel any different in a few days because I still
No, I
feel
don't.
the
I don't think
same.
so.
I still feel the same with it. Look, it is what it is. Done. I mean, there's nothing to do. I would have much rather Christian had gone on and won it. At least it would have been the ending a bit more different to what we got. I would like. This is an interesting one because you mentioned about the Hurt Business turning. Here's an interesting one. What if the Hurt Business helped Swerve win the title? The Hurt
Yeah,
Syndicate, fucking hell, the Hurt Syndicate. Sorry, doesn't take anything away from what we've just witnessed in the main event. But I'm just throwing something out. Maybe, who knows? But
yeah. Perhaps we get some kind of faction warfare with Swerve and the Hurt Syndicate against the Death Riders. Maybe that could be some good stuff. Maybe we could get a blood and guts match or something like that, or a multi-man match. There's a lot of good stuff there that can be had. There was a different way they could have achieved this. To be totally honest, they didn't need to blow this off with Christian yet. If that was the plan, I don't. Copeland could have lost to Moxley clean, or you could have you could have done the moment with Jay White, and Jay
yeah,
White cost Copeland the match, and that's how Moxley won. And I would have been. I still think Mariah, regardless of what they'd done, I think Mariah May and Tony Storm should
yeah,
have main evented, and that's the way that it should have ended.
yeah,
Uh, but I wouldn't have been. I'd have been fairly satisfied with a finish like that. I'm not satisfied with this at all, and I'm gonna when we finish up, I'm gonna kind of jump online. I've avoided spoilers and stuff, and see the general opinion. I've got no idea how it's been received. I don't know if it's been criticized, praised. You probably know. I'm guessing, yeah, looking at your face, you definitely know. But I'll be surprised if anybody's defending it too much and saying that was a great way to go off the air.
yeah. You're absolutely right. I'll let you view it out. But overall, great pay per view overall. The
Yeah.
ending was the ending. Looking forward to this week's Dynamite. But look, before we go, again, big thanks to RVD recently. It was such a great interview. I've had a lot of feedback from that. So big thanks to RVD. Unfortunately, Scott Steiner's had a bit of a hitch management and stuff, so that may not be happening as soon as I would have liked it to, but it should hopefully still be happening as we approach 1,000 pieces of content on YouTube. When I say content, I don't mean full episodes. There's shorts added to that, but we're about 930 now.
You must have been on at least 950 of them, or there's not many you haven't been on, is there? In that 1,000.
I don't think there's been many at all, mate. Yeah, the odd, been the pay per view, the SummerSlam when I was in hospital, maybe.
Yeah, there was a few. I,
There's
I
a
remember
couple.
me and Andy did James
James
Ellsworth and
Wellsworth. You had a couple on your own with
a couple of ill-fated Rampage review shows. Yeah,
a couple of interviews as well that you done.
yeah, I
Done a
did.
few.
I did. Yeah, I remember jumping on the Ospreay.
The presser.
Presser, yeah, with TNA, that was a great moment, and look what he's gone on to now. I mean, he was already a star, but he's showing the world that now. So yeah, I mean, 1,000 episodes, mate. Or 1,000 pieces of content. That's just phenomenal, phenomenal dedication from you, and I'm glad that you allowed me to play a small part in it, mate. And yeah, really enjoy being part of the show.
Yeah, man, we enjoy you on the show. You're always welcome on when you can come on, man. You're always welcome. You know that. And obviously we want to get the Gangrel interview sorted out soon that you can come and enjoy because I know I would say you're chomping at the bit, but that would be like a
Oh,
vampire, wouldn't it, for to get off
yeah, no,
your grill?
definitely. When we started talking a while ago, and we said about some of the guests that we wanted on, Gangrel was one that I mentioned because of the theme and I just loved the Brood. I love it, and it was a fairly short run, really. It wasn't, we look back on it, they weren't really going for it, but it was just a moment that when I really got into wrestling, the Attitude Era, WWE at the time, WWF at the time. That was just something that was really significant, and to get the opportunity to speak to him at some point, which hopefully we will.
Oh, we
That,
will. That's
that
guaranteed. It's just
yeah,
it's just when we want to do it. That's the,
yeah,
so that's
that's
definitely happening. That one is not going to
that's
have a
awesome.
hitch.
Awesome.
Yeah, that one's not having a hitch, my friend. That one will happen. It's our good friends at Podstars will sort that out for us. So that's
Yeah,
that's that's not even an argument. So it's just when you want to fit it in, we can.
cool.
So that's good. But signature sign off time, my friend. I don't do this on the excuse me on the AEW shows. You do. So please, Dave, serenade us off the air this time.
Well, he picked up a big win and a big title, and pay homage to Kenny. Time to bid you adieu. Goodbye. Mwah. Good night. Bang.
Stay elite, everybody.